Is Ragin Bull the best hypercoaster on the planet? Well, Biscuits, we're gonna talk about it, and let's slay it! And Biscuits, once again, I made it to the end of the video where I forgot to say Biscuit. Hi! If you're new, I'm Jeremy, but you can call me Jerendell. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so every time I post a video, you can come and slay with me. Okay, back to the video. We're back at my home park, Six Flags Great America, Biscuits. Yeah! And I'm really only here to answer one question. Oh my goodness, it's so windy! Listen, we gotta get to step, and I don't have that much time. We only have a couple hours, and in those couple hours, I plan to do a couple things. Number one, go on a few of my favorite roller coasters here at the park. One of which, Maxx Force, which is actually recently reopened after a lengthy downtime. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I'm just so happy that it's back. But then also, we're here to answer the question, is Ragin Bull the best hyper coaster in the country? Well, Biscuits, we're about to find out. Let's slay it! And in no time at all, we are scanned in. It is great to be back here, especially during the Fright Fest season. This, no matter how many times I come here, I am always I've been coming to this park for so many years, and of all the parks that I have been to, this will always be one of, not only I think the most grand, but one of my favorite entrances to any park ever, especially now during Fright Fest when it's blood red. Anyway, again, gotta get to step in. Thankfully, for all of these years, I've been able to have an all-season flash pass. So when I come to the park, I very rarely wait in line. Now, not all of the rides have merges that go right up to the station. Sometimes you do merge into the line, like for Batman, for example, but I just got in and reserved a Maxx Force, which, you know what, all that being said, the line doesn't look that bad, but this one takes you right up to the station, so you pretty much get on right away. So we're gonna be heading to Maxx Force first, and the thing I love about Maxx Force, I love the drama, mama. So Maxx Force, when it debuted with the fastest rate of acceleration on the planet, but it's in contention with a roller coaster over in Europe, in London to be more exact, called the Stealth. So there's this battle back and forth. Which one is faster? Is it Maxx Force? Is it Stealth? People say Stealth, people say Maxx Force. I say Maxx Force, not just because it's my home park. And people have even done a comparison of like watching the launches and putting it to a timer. And I don't know, Biscuits, Maxx Force makes the grade. The Stealth looks like it under-delivers a little bit. I'm sure it's still an amazing ride. My goodness, I can't wait to go on it at some point. Either way, this is the most fitting and the most appropriate way to start the day. And also, I forgot to mention, Ragin Bull just came back from a repaint. From afar, and from what I've seen in pictures, it looks beautiful. And I also love that they kept the original color scheme. They didn't change it. Ragin Bull, I was here the opening weekend. Here's the picture to prove it. I was here the opening weekend of it, and all these years later, I say this a lot in my videos, it's running better than it's ever run. Oh, hold on a sec.
3, 2, 1.
I saw that Maxx Force was about to go, and I had to switch it. And then, of course, it's not on zoom. It was on up and down. But here comes Maxx Force. Yes! I am so excited to get back on. Anyway, Ragin Bull is the second B&M Hyper behind Apollo's Chariot, which is the OG at Busch Gardens Williamsburg that I finally got to go on this year. But I say this a lot, for Ragin Bull having come to be in 1999 to now be running better than it ever has before, it makes me so happy. I've always been a fan of the ride, but I've never loved the ride like I have these last couple of years, but more on that in a little bit. First, let's get on Maxx Force. Say what you will about Maxx Force, that launch is unbelievable. And I haven't felt it in a while or been on any ride really that launches. Actually, no, that is a lie. I was just on Accelerator a few days ago, but even then so, Accelerator, it takes your breath away without question, but this 100% takes your breath away. There are few elements in the world that stack up to a launch like this. It's just, I love it. And, you know, people say that it's short and they don't like the ride, or after the launch it's boring. I don't agree. I think that this combines so many different things. First of all, starting off with the unbelievable launch, then going into what people I think deem, they call it like the banana peel. I'm not really sure, but a double inversion that has really good floater and time to get to be able to take in, you know, first of all, breathe after the launch, and then get to take in kind of the coaster and your surroundings. And then you have what was once the world's fastest inversion, and then 2 back-to-back inversions right in the end. It might be like 20-30 seconds, but what it accomplishes in that amount of time is the exact same thing I felt about Top Toe Dragster. People would say, whatever, Dragster is just a launch, 0 to 120 in 4 seconds, who cares? And I'm like, hello, it is so much more than just a launch. I don't care how short the ride is. Again, like Tron, people complain, it's too short. I don't care how short the ride is. But if it accomplishes several different things, like in Maxx Force cases, it has the ultimate thrill, it has moments of pause, and it's just a really cool, funky layout that you don't see really anywhere. So once again, in summation, I don't really care how short the ride is. But for me, if it checks off a few different pillars, like uniqueness, intensity, inversion, whatever that might be, it's a sleigh for me, and Maxx Force is the ultimate sleigh. Speaking of ultimate sleighs, the newest roller coaster here at Six Flags Great America, the Wrath of Rakshasa. Where is it? There we go. So, this is another coaster that, assuming it's open, I do not come to the park and not ride. Wrath of Rakshasa, arguably one of my favorite B&M dive coasters I've ever been on. I genuinely think the only one that I like more is going to be the first half of Yukon Striker at Canada's Wonderland. Aside from that, this is an unbelievable coaster, and where dive coasters lose me is that though their scale is so impressive, I mean, first of all, look at this unbelievable, let me find it, and the sun, my goodness. First of all, look at the drop. It's beyond vertical, it is massive, and then you come into this first huge Immelman that then sweeps through into this next diving loop. Oh, look at my knuckle in the frame, my goodness. And then my favorite inversion of which is going to be this 0G roll that happens so fast, especially when you're on the outer wing, that then comes down the helix into another. This ride does so much, so quickly and so fast. And now, there were some iconic rides that sat on this land. Oh, there it goes. There are some iconic rides that sat on this land. My favorite of which, Deja Vu, which when they announced that Deja Vu was closing, I was like, you know what? I get it. I understand. I'm not happy about it because Deja Vu to this day is still one of my favorite roller coasters that's ever been created. But Wrath of Rakshasa is absolutely worthy of being here. And what this does well, that a lot of other dive coasters don't necessarily do well, is it maintains its pace. The inversions are snappy. There really isn't much pause. So dive coasters are coasters, for example, that I can do without the pause. Mid-course breaks have a tendency to just completely dim a ride. Like, for example, Griffin at Busch Gardens Williamsburg completely dampens the ride. The mid-course break on Alpengeist. The first half of Alpengeist in the back row is one of the craziest, most intense first halves of any ride, but then after the mid-course, the ride kind of just peters out. That is not the case with this ride, and it's one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much. So, we reserved it, and now it's time to get on Wrath of Rakshasa, brand new here at Six Flags Great America. Yeah! I have one more dive coaster to get on in the United States, and that's Dr. Diabolical, but here's what I can say. There's no chance, no mab, no pam, no spam that well, I can't even say it. Dr. Diabolical is going to top Rakshasa. This ride is unbelievable, from the drop to the pacing to the inversions. I love this ride. I was even in more of an internal seat, front row, middle, the back row, outside. If you could be on the back row left seat, this 0G roll and just the entirety of the experience is flawless. It's a little bumpy, there's a little bit of a shuffle. I personally don't mind it. This is kind of like that wing coaster, like epiphany for me. This is how dive coasters are meant to be. And you know what? Look at me just tripping on all of my words. It's like a word fruity pebble. My goodness. Anyway, like Yukon Striker, for example. I love Yukon. It's a bigger model, but the elements feel compact and they're fast. This, though the scale is very large, the elements in a lot of ways feel compact. They feel intense. And that is how dive coasters have to be, in my opinion, where a lot of them, the elements are just very drawn out and just really not that exciting, and the layouts really aren't that inspired. This is an inspired layout. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. On to the next for now. The next is going to be the coaster. Look, I did not come to this park and not ride this ride, because without this roller coaster, I would not be where I am today. I would not be the roller coaster enthusiast and the theme park junkie that I am today, and that is none other than the Aero Classic, the Demon. Opened originally as turn of the century, did not have 2 loops, just 2 corkscrews, and this is the first roller coaster that I went on that really made me like and appreciate rides, when prior to that, I was terrified to ride anything. Don't ask my family about our first trip to Disney World. I ruined it. It was a disaster. And then some friends got me on this, and since then, I have been obsessed with these creations, with these machines, and absolutely obsessed with aerodynamics. So, I never come without giving my respects to the Demon, so out of the Demon we go next. Oh, look at it! Here, a little dual shot with Rakshasa, yeah! And the Demon, it's small but mighty. Just 100 feet tall, 50 miles an hour, but those 4 inversions come at you really, really quickly. The ending finale with the double corkscrew is spectacular. I say spectacular all the time, y'all, by the way. I've been watching my footage pack, and every time I describe something, it's spectacular. So every time I say spectacular, I've already said it 5 times in the last few minutes, you are more than welcome to call me out on that, because we have to find another word to describe things. Anyway, out of the Demon we go. Actually, no, not yet. Out of the Demon we go. Back row ride. Specifically, wait a minute, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's just say there are 12 rows. I should know by now with how many times I've been on this ride. Row 11. For me, Tall Biscuit, again, 6'2½", 74% leg. It's an anomaly. I have no idea how it happened, but here we are. More leg room. In the evens on aero coasters in general, you really don't have that much leg room. So this is an odd coaster for me, where I like to ride in the odd number rows. So I wanted to get that in case you are a Tall Biscuit. Or, in general, I just feel like it's also the more comfortable ride. So, there you go. The more you know. On to the Demon we go. And side note, I don't know what's been going on with Giant Drop. Every time I've come to the park, Giant Drop has had either very limited operation or has just been down altogether, as it is right now. So I haven't heard any updates. If you know about what's been going on with Giant Drop and why it might be down, please let me know in the comments, as it is one of the only rides that genuinely terrifies me, and I really hope to get back on it.
Goodbye.
Welcome back. When the train comes to a complete stop, push down, then pull up.
Biscuits, it's time for Raging Bull, but before that, we gotta talk about the Demon. That was one of the best rides I've had on the Demon in a long time, and I stand by row 11. First of all, the whip down the drop, the pull through the inversions, especially those first 2 loops, the second loop being a little bit on the smaller side compared to the first loop, it's running fantastically. I really didn't thrash that much, not a lot of headbanging. I'm telling you, row 11, the odd rows, those are gonna be the best places to ride. The further up you ride, though, on the train, the rougher it is going to be, so keep that in mind. And by the way, apologies, Biscuits, if you were hearing that rave music in the background. No, I am not reliving my early 2000s college glory days. That happens to be the Chubasco that is enjoying the thrill of its Halloween overlay. Anyway, back to the Demon. Classic, the reason I'm the roller coaster enthusiast I am today, and a must-do, and I always pay my respects when I'm here. Speaking of paying my respects, it's time for Raging Bull. There was a moment, look, I was here opening weekend for Raging Bull. I think I already provided the proof, but just in case, here's the proof again. This was the picture from that opening weekend with my brother and 2 of my best friends, Stephanie and Camille. And here's the thing, for years, I enjoyed Raging Bull, but it was never one of my favorite rides. I've always liked Raging Bull. I've always had an appreciation for it, especially since it was the second B&M hypercoaster to ever exist, the first one of which being Apollo's Chariot. And at the time, there really weren't much of this style of roller coaster that were around. Of course, we had Magnum XL 200, which kind of was one of the pinnacle roller coasters for the roller coaster wars. And thanks to aerodynamics, Magnum XL 200 was the first roller coaster to hit 200 feet, which up to that point, we never thought that we would see that. Back then, that was crazy to even think that that was going to be possible. And now we have roller coasters that are 300 feet, 400 feet, surpassing 500 feet, surpassing 150 miles an hour. It is truly insane how far roller coasters have come and just where technological advances, slay baby, just where technological advances are allowing these creations to go. But again, back to Raging Bull. These last 2 years, Ragin Bull has been running better than it's ever run in the entirety of its lifespan. And I think that that's attributed to a couple things. Right over here on this first camelback, actually, that Ragin Bull is going down right now, there's a trim brake that goes up to the top. And in many years prior, that trim brake hit really, really hard and kind of decelerated the train quite a bit. Nowadays, it really doesn't hit that much, and you kind of go flying over that camelback. You get a whole lot of airtime. And then going into the mid-course brake, which Ragin Bull is about to, I think it just did right now, the mid-course brake, you're going into it so fast that even though it does hit, it doesn't really feel like it decelerates the train that much. So the last half of the ride, though you have that quick moment of pause, you are hurling through the back half of the ride, which before, it was cute, it was fun, you would kind of meander, but it really was not that thrilling. Now, especially if you are in the back row, it is beyond thrilling, it is insane. And of all the hypercoasters that I have been on, Magnum XL 200, Mamba, Apollo's Chariot, so many roller coasters that I can account for, I think Ragin Bull might be the best out of all of them. But we're gonna have to go on and we're gonna have to talk about it even more. Ragin Bull just came back from a repaint, a much needed repaint. It looks beautiful and refreshed, and I'm glad that they went back to the OG colors. I was concerned that they were gonna change up the color scheme, but I am glad that they did not. It is back to its iconic orange and purple, but for now, we are gonna be getting on Ragin Bull. We're gonna do 2 rides, I think at least. Front row, back row, and let's see how it's running after the repaint, and if it is still my favorite hypercoaster on the planet. All right, enough yep, time to slap and slay. Let's go get in line. We already reserved our return. It's not a return time. We're at my Disney. I already reserved it and we're good to go. All right. Biscuits, we just got off of our front row ride on Ragin Bull, and honestly, what just happened? Since when, the last time I rode it, that was like a few visits ago, I believe, I was like, wow, you actually get some airtime in the front row now on Ragin Bull? Like, I used to never really go in the front row because it was never really that exciting. Yeah, you get the view, and the view is beautiful, and going down the drop and whatnot, but the airtime was always kind of like, meh, it really wasn't, not really, you didn't really float off of the seat, and there was nothing really that exciting about going in the front row, except for the fact that it's a really beautiful view. The front row is so dynamic now, you are flying out of your seats, you are making like Dua Lipa and levitating the entire way, and pretty much every camelback after that, especially coming off of the mid-course, you are out of your seat, thighs on the bar, and it is everything! I never thought that that could have happened to this attraction. I never thought that this would become one of my favorite attractions on the planet, and I'm just, the fact that it is all these years later, decades later, and it's running like this, bravo. Kudos to Six Flags Great America and the team here that makes that possible, to the adjustments that have been made, because this is truly a standout attraction. This epitomizes what old school B&Ms were and why they were so popular, and B&M is they kind of lost the plot a little bit, if I'm being honest. Rakshasa, great step in the right direction. Rapterra, great step in the right direction, but aside from that, they've had a lot of really wonky years, and so when you get to go on old school classic B&Ms like this, Kumba, Apollo's Chariot, it's Batman, we have the OG Batman the ride, it's truly very special, especially considering that they are running better than a lot of the more modern day roller coasters that we have today. I'm obsessed, so much fun, and now we gotta go back again. We're already back in line. I'm on the stairs, and we're gonna be going in the back row for this next ride. So stay tuned. Just got off of the back row, and once again, I have to say, what just happened? Biscuits, it's not often that you ride a roller coaster that is actively trying to take your clothes off during the ride. That's what happened from start to finish. From the second we got off of the lift hill, down the drop, the camelback, the drop off of the mid-course is so violent right now, and then every single camelback, the trim even hit after that last drop before the helixes, my shirt was coming off the entire time. It was flying up, and there was nothing that I could do to stop it. It was amazing. I mean, you could at least buy me an iced coffee first, or maybe even a latte, but I'm quite literally at a loss for words. Even though I have so many, when am I ever at a loss for words? Let's be honest. It makes me so happy that Ragin Bull is running as well as it is. This ride is historic. It in so many ways shaped my childhood years as a roller coaster enthusiast, just like the Demon did. And for it to be all of these decades later, for it to be running like this, it's not only very unique, but very, very special. Look, I've been on a lot of roller coasters. I've been on a lot of roller coasters in the 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s. Today, there are some roller coasters today that aren't running anywhere near as gracefully and fantastically. Is that really, of all the words I could have thought of, fantastically was the one? Anyway, I digress, that are running quite like Ragin Bull. And because of that, it makes me proud. I'm like a proud mama. And this is my proud baby. I love this coaster with every inch of my being. And when people say, me included, when they say that this is the best hypercoaster on the planet, I believe them, because I'm lucky enough to get to ride this ride as much as I do. Now look, there are other hypercoasters and whatnot that I have to go on in this world. I know that that is not the case. But do I think that Ragin Bull is going to be a very difficult act to follow? You better believe it. Hyperia, looking at you. Hyperion, looking at you. I know those roller coasters are going to be incredible, but I'm so curious to see how they stack up against this classic that is Ragin Bull. But for now, Biscuits, I would say science has been done. I am going to say with my full chest that of all the hypercoasters I have been on, I think Ragin Bull is my number one. Never thought I would say that. Never thought that I would say that at all. But looking at Magnum, looking at Mamba, Goliath, whatever, that's fine. Titan, whatever, that's fine. I truly didn't think that there was going to be a hypercoaster that I enjoy more than Diamondback at Kings Island. Diamondback is slotted right in after this, and I think, you know, I think there's something to say for Goliath. It's Six Flags Over Texas as well. I think that there is something to be said for that. But right now, as is, I think I'm giving it to Ragin Bull. But please let me know in the comments what you think, and it doesn't matter if you haven't been on Ragin Bull. If you just have looked at it, you know the layout, you've been on other hypercoasters, and you want to play compare and contrast. I love, my goodness, we're back in the race. And the sun was not doing me any favors either. My goodness, between the music and the sun, we are slaying, baby. Let me know what you think in the comments. I love discussing, I love talking about it. I love hearing why people love certain rides over other rides, etc. So let me know in the comments what you think. And in the meantime, I think I'm gonna have time to get one more ride in. I think I'm gonna do Goliath, and then depending on how time is looking, maybe we'll go over to my other favorite ride in the park, the OG Batman of the Ride. So stay tuned, let's go see what we can do. Oh my goodness, the sun, Biscuits, I completely lost track of time. I gotta go, I'm running late. I'm supposed to be meeting my brother in Arena over at Dave & Buster's at 5. It's a little after 4, and if I'm lucky, it's gonna take me like 50 minutes to get there, so I am running so late. I was able to get one more ride in on Ragin Bull, and now we are making our way towards the exit. I'm gonna be coming back next weekend for a more in-depth vlog. I do have some really fun things coming up while I'm here in Chicago, some haunt attractions, and then for sure, coming back here for Fright Fest. So, though this was a shorter vlog, my main focus today was to get into the park, to get, is my microphone on? Thank goodness it is! To get on Maxx Force, but then to also just see what kind of shape Ragin Bull is in after the repaint, and it is a resounding slay. One of my favorite coasters. It is running so beautifully, and if you haven't yet, I mean, Six Flags, 16 coasters here, 16! I want to say it's tied for 4th place in terms of the most volume of roller coasters in a park in the world. And so many of the roller coasters here are world class. So along with that stat alone, Ragin Bull is worth the trip to be able to come here. If not this year, put it on the calendar for next year, Biscuits. Either way, it is just so good to be home, to get back on some of my favorite roller coasters, and to get to spend some more time here where I not only grew up, once again, as a kid, but this is where the monster came alive in terms of the roller coaster obsessed little child that was up at all nights of the evening playing Roller Coaster Tycoon and wanted to plan an entire itinerary around roller coasters. So here we are. But Biscuits, if you're still here, even though I know this was a shorter one, you're a real one. I love you and I appreciate you for that. Thank you. And if you haven't yet, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so every time I post a video, you can come and slay with me. And as always, I'm Jeremy, but you can call me Jarendell. And as always, I will see you at the parks. Bye!